Everybody, this is Jackson Erie alongside Jared Rigdon for episode 4 of the Basketball State podcast. Today we've got personal friend on the show, newly hired Zionsville basketball head coach, J.R. Howell. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So I guess start out by going through the timeline of when the opening appeared of interest and when you really started to pursue that.
As you guys are aware, it opened up pretty late in the summer. I think all in all, it took about 2 weeks for the whole process to kind of go through. I think it was mid-July when Coach Busick took the Covington job, which opened this up. So, and then the process, like I said, was about 2 weeks. So it was quick. They knew they had to move fast, and I knew they had to move fast. I think, like I said, it was mid-July when it opened up, and before they delayed school a week, they were supposed to start school July 31st. So you're talking about a 2-week turnaround with having kids and stuff. So like I said, it was fast and furious, and didn't really have a whole lot of downtime waiting for the response. So it was a quick one.
So you got into the job, and then I don't know what the COVID-19 protocol has been like for what you've been able to do, but how have you attacked the job since you've got it?
Well, it was an interesting situation because, that I got offered the job, I don't know, probably a week or two before it even came out in public. So, for those first couple of weeks, I wasn't able to make any contact with the guys. I really wasn't even able to get into the school quite yet. I was able to a couple weeks before, or like about a week before school started. But other than that, it was more so of just getting, my stuff organized. I was able to get some paperwork stuff done as far as, what I wanted to present to the players the first time I met with them. I kind of have a plan of attack of how I want to start my first 30 days, 60 days, that kind of stuff. So it was more so, it was kind of nice because I was able to take a step back, kind of organize myself before I was officially hired and being able to meet with the guys. So that was kind of a unique situation. This whole time period right now is a unique situation for everybody. But like I said, I knew I had the job, 2 weeks before it was announced, and really they announced it on the 10th, I think, and we had our first day of school the 10th. So that was a real interesting dynamic of being in the school, but technically not even being approved by the school board quite yet. So it was a strange situation, but I've loved it ever since I've been here. So,
have you found it to be a big adjustment coming from Carmel to Zionsville? Or are you kind of still getting your feet wet, being in a new environment, a new school district, and all that?
Yeah, I learned something new every day. The schools are pretty similar as far as demographics and the type of kid and the type of students and size and everything. I guess not really size because nothing really compares to being at a school of 5,300 kids and stuff like that. But as far as the people that work here and the students, it's very similar. It's been a smooth transition in that regard. But as far as everything else, it's things I'm learning every day, whether it's something with the feeder program and how it's been ran in the past, or how it's going to reserve gyms, get practice schedules together. It's just learning all those little different administrative aspects of coaching that no one really tells you about until you get the job. So, like I said, I'm learning something new every day, but it keeps me on my toes so far.
Spanning back like a few years ago to the point where you took the assistant job at Carmel, obviously you were at Western Boone beforehand as a head coach there. Do you think that if the Zionsville job, or let's say something similar, would have come up after your time at Western Boone, other than an assistant job at Carmel, like you would have been ready? Or how key were those 3 years at Carmel to prepare you for this?
The 3 years at Carmel were very impactful in my coaching career, as far as just understanding what it takes to be successful at that level, and not only just what people see on Friday and Saturday nights. It's the stuff that happens in August when you can't even work with your guys. It's the stuff that happens in April after your season's done, and what are you doing to prepare for the next year? Working with the youth, working with second through eighth grade. There's always something that can be done, and when you're at the smaller schools, you can't really dive into that as much as you can at these bigger schools. And I think that's a big adjustment for any coach that goes from a smaller school to a bigger school, whether that's as an assistant, as a head coach. There's a huge adjustment period, to where, I was at Western Boone, and I would say 80% of my roster played multiple sports, and that's great. I'm a big proponent of multiple sports, but you go to a school like Carmel, and we had 2 or 3 maybe. So, you're able to work with those guys all year round, and when you're allowed to, and those kinds of things. So it's a totally different adjustment period. But I will say, if it would be it'd be a lot more challenging if I came from a school like Western Boone or a smaller school like that, jumping into a job like this versus coming from a school like Carmel, being able to be in a position to where now I know what needs to happen, whether or not I can get that done. That's one thing, but at least I know where we should be at a specific time in the year versus not really having any type of situation to kind of pinpoint, all right, this is where we should be. This is where, we need to be, that kind of thing.
And what is kind of right now, obviously, with everything going on in high school athletics are kind of, start and stop. What does the time frame look like for for you to get in the gym with your team, or how much contact can you really have with them?
Yeah. We actually we can start Monday, the 31st, be able to do open gym. And with the new rule that passed, I don't know, it was last year, 2 years ago, we get 2 days a week for 2 hours. Pretty much it's full go. So right now our school is in a position where we can, run a true practice, as far as being able to go 5-on-5, 3-on-3, those kinds of things, and have contact and drills, which is huge, because you got to keep in mind, when I got hired, I have not even seen our guys do anything with the basketball in their hands other than film. So that's another, a downside of being hired so late is I've never been able to work with these guys. So Monday's going to be a totally new experience for everybody, with the program and what they've done in the past, and the fact that I haven't even been with them in a basketball setting yet. There's a lot of excitement leading up to it. But yeah, we get to start Monday, and we'll go all the way up and through to the season starts.
How big of an influence was your dad and you getting into coaching? Have you always wanted to kind of follow his footsteps and be in the head coaching spot?
Yeah, absolutely. Growing up, he's always had successful years, successful teams, and he's always been a gym rat, which in turn made me a gym rat. I say I didn't really have a choice, but not to be a gym rat unless if I wanted to spend time with him, I had to be at the gym. But luckily I enjoyed it. And I kind of feel the same way about my son, that, he's 4 months old, but I bet he's going to spend more time in the school building than he is at home. But he's been huge. Just being able to pick his brain, even when I was younger, going to middle school and elementary school, I would always go scouting with him. He got me he had a scout bag, like those little, I don't want to call it a satchel, but like a laptop bag.
Yeah.
And he got me one, I think I was like in 6th grade, and got my name engraved on it. So I'd always take that scouting, and, I wasn't able to take, good enough notes, but I would always keep the stats, but I would feel just like him because I would have that bag. And then being able to be on the team bus and that kind of stuff with him. He's really been, he's the reason I got into coaching, being able to kind of follow his footsteps. And, now he's put a pretty big, a shoe to fill there.
Yeah.
And he keeps coaching, so the shoe doesn't get any smaller. But no, he's been a huge support and rock for me, giving me advice and being there for me every step of the way too. So that's been huge.
So obviously you said you haven't had a whole lot of contact with the team. And you guys lose a couple of key pieces from the last couple of years in Ben Widener and Anthony Scales. But I know of Logan Imes, who's reported to be like one of the better sophomores in the state at this time. Other than him, who else do you think would be like kind of your key contributors from what you know as of right now going into the year?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they lost a few key guys last year from a 16 and 10 team. We got a couple guys coming back. Dylan Ritter, who started last year for him as kind of an off guard, and then you got another kid that's going to be a senior, Owen Prickett, and he's going to be. He played varsity late in the year when Widener got hurt. So we've got some of those guys, and we got another sophomore. It's about 6'7", Nick Reichert, and he's been pretty touted. I again, not being able to see him, you see all the hype videos and hear all the hype, but it's just a matter of what they can do with when you're playing against somebody that plays defense and is focused on playing defense versus focused on scoring. So, I think we have a solid group coming back. But you're going through that transition period of, Coach Busick was a zone coach, and he was a ball screen motion coach, and we come in and we're not, we're going to change up quite a bit. So we've got a learning curve too, coming in. No matter how experienced or inexperienced we would be, just that learning curve of the transition is going to be one that we're going to have to work hard to get over.
And at Zionsville, you're in a pretty unique environment, similar to Carmel, and where you're a pretty tight community and everyone pretty much goes to the same schools up until high school, and then they all come to Zionsville. Is that something you're going to try and build on, those youth programs and the middle school teams, to kind of, get them ready for when they get to Zionsville High School, so that they're ready, they know the system, and that they've been playing together for a while?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your feeder program is the lifeblood of your entire program, and it's getting everybody on the same page. I've had meetings already. I've done a lot with the meeting with people with the feeder program now, whether that's people down at second grade level all the way up to the middle school level, just trying to get to learn what's happened before, because I do think everybody has their little tweaks on how they want to run a program, and my job is to come in here and run the program the best way I know how, and that's to get everybody on the same page, learn from what has been done in the past and how we can make it better. But I do think I met with my middle school coaches the other night, and I think middle school coaches are extremely important when it comes to the feeder system, because they're the last coaches before they get to us. So that we've got to be on the same page. It's got to be constant communication. It's got to be people that you trust and that are loyal to you and what you see as a program vision. And if you have guys that are like that in the middle school program, then I think it's where you see a lot of success at the high school level.
You touched on it a little bit earlier, but what specific kind of style of play are you going to implement when you're, got your team together and you started the season?
Yeah, I think a lot of tendencies you'll see is you'll see us play man to man. We'll play the pack line, and we want to have a team that's going to come out and compete and play hard and dive on the floor for loose balls, get second chance opportunities. We're going to be a team that we want to. Our defense is going to be kind of our staple, and we want people to have to work to score against us. And offensively, we want to play a little more free than what they've shown in the past, as far as more of a motion and not a continuity. Giving the players a little bit of freedom at times, and being able to make plays versus having to go to a certain spot or do a certain action. We want them to be able to kind of play a little bit free, and but at the same time play smart. So that's kind of the tricky part is you want them to play free and not to think about a lot of stuff when they play, but at the same time you want them to play smart and you want to be able to control a little bit of that stuff. So that's just working on that stuff when we start next week, and hopefully by the time we get towards the season and we get in the middle of the season, we're building and going up and not flatlining or going down.
I'm assuming you're going to probably prioritize shooting, considering your shooting acumen. If people don't know, Coach Howell is a hell of a shooter, and when I was at Carmel as a manager, he could probably outshoot at least half the team, or maybe even just about anybody.
Yeah, I mean, shooting will be important. I think when you look at basketball the way it is now, anyways, everybody wants to shoot threes. Whether you're 5'5" or 7'5", everybody wants to shoot threes. Everybody wants to be on the perimeter. But yeah, you got to be able to shoot it at a high level, especially with the competition that we play against. So shooting will be a priority. But I mean, it's not going to be any more of a priority than it is the defensive end or getting the continuity as far as playing together and being a good teammate and being able to accomplish things together versus by yourself. So yeah, shooting will definitely be a focal point in practice, but I hope we can get some guys that can fill it up.
And then, I mean, the past couple of years, when Zionsville with, Isaiah Thompson and the likes of the talent they had, first two sectional titles in 2018, 2019 since the 95 season. Just how important is it to continue building on that success of a program that's become more than just, kind of a doormat in the sectional and then the conference?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you got to instill confidence in the players and give them the confidence that they can compete with anybody in the state. I would argue that the sectional we're currently in is, probably one of the top two sectionals year in and year out in the state. And I think you could argue that it's probably the top sectional year in and year out when you look at top to bottom. The way Westfield's come on the last couple of years, Noblesville had a pretty good season last year, and Coach Peckinpah does a great job there. And then you always have HSE Fishers, and then you got Carmel. So, it's instilling the confidence in those guys and finding ways that make our team to be in the best spot to win. It's we're not going to reinvent anything. We're just going to do things that make us successful. We're going to play to our players' strengths, and just like I said, instill that confidence, and then that they can compete with anybody, they can beat anybody, and I think that goes with the schedule you play as well. Like I said, playing in that sectional, most of those teams are in our conference. So the conference games are important, and then trying to play other opponents that are in Central Indiana that are tough and athletic teams will only prepare us for when we get into sectionals and the state tournament.
I mean, not only would Carmel be a potential sectional opponent, I mean, I'm pretty sure unless the schedules change, it's always the first game of the season in that Thanksgiving time. What's that going to be like going up against Osborne and Carmel for the first game of your head coaching tenure?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I have a ton of respect for Coach Osborne. I always have. Even when I was in middle school, and he was one of our assistant coaches starting out. So, it's going to be one of those things where, once that ball's tipped up in the air, we're going to be competitive. He wants to win, and his team wants to win, and our team will want to win. So, it's going to be tough, but at the same time, when the game's going on, we're not going to think about, friendships or that kind of thing. But then after the game, we'll be able to hash it out and all that kind of stuff. So it will be difficult, but at the same time, it'll be a lot of fun because, I respect him a ton as a coach and as a person. And I'm pretty sure he feels the same way about me. And we had a great run when we were together at Carmel, and I learned a ton from him. And it's kind of the mentor versus the mentee, but it'll be fun. And he's been a great support since I've been over here, and I send him texts all the time, asking him questions about certain things, how he would, how I should attack this, or, what does he think about this? And he's been really good. And, he's a good guy to have in your corner. That's for sure.
What would you say is your favorite part about just being involved with Indiana high school basketball? Obviously, it's just a special thing.
Yeah, I think it's just the history of it all. I mean, when you look at the history of basketball in our country, I think, it's everybody knows it kind of grew up here. It wasn't invented here, but this is, people take basketball serious in this state. And then you look at, the family history of myself, where, my cousin was Miss Basketball in 2005. My dad's won 2 state finals. He's in the Hall of Fame. There's just a lot of family ties and family connections for me as well. And being able to continue that kind of tradition in my family, it really means a lot. But I mean, just coming in on a Friday night and you've got a packed house, you're playing against a county rival or conference rival. It doesn't get any better than that. Yeah, the band's playing, the student sections are yelling at each other and calling out other people from the other team. It's just it's a great environment. And hopefully this season we can get some of that same environment that's been going on for the last few years, in the last, the history of Indiana high school basketball, kind of get it back to where it was versus kind of what we're seeing now in the fall.
Would you have one moment or a particular achievement that would be like the highlight of your coaching career to this point?
I don't know if I'd say, a highlight moment or anything like that, but I would say probably the proudest moment I've had, from an individual standpoint, is being able to get this job. This has been kind of a job that I've always had my eyes on. The community is great. I know we talked about the community aspect earlier. The community is like that small, tight-knit community, but yet it's a big school. Like you guys were saying earlier, like everybody knows everybody. I mean, it's a big school, but still everybody seems to know everyone. And you're playing in an area where basketball is rich, and you're playing in a conference that's very competitive. And this is been one of the where I've been kind of take a step back and think, I'm a lucky man to be able to be in this role. At the age that I'm at and where I've been over the last few years, this has been a dream come true to get a job like this. And, I'm thankful for Mr. Shellhouse for giving me the opportunity, and Mr. East, our principal, and Dr. Robinson, our superintendent, to give me that opportunity to lead these guys and try to build something here that's on my own. And, hopefully we can have some success with that.
Jared, do you have any other thoughts?
I think so. I was going to ask if you planned on putting your dad on the schedule, but I looked it up. It doesn't look like you guys are playing this year. Well, it must have been a little too late in the game.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. My dad will never play me. He played his brother when he was at, his brother was at Muncie Central. My dad was at Muncie South, and I think he was, just starting out, or it was something along those lines. He was or maybe it was like Daleville or Westdale or something like that. And he needed a game, and they ended up, the ADs picked it up before my dad got the job at Muncie South or something like that. And he said it was the worst feeling he's ever had at a game. Like, his teams at Muncie South are really good, and my uncle's team was not the best. And it was just that he felt bad and guilty the whole game, and he would feel the same way. I mean, I have a hard time getting him to play me in the summer, let alone in the regular season. So hopefully when he retires, if he ever does, he'll come and be on staff or something and give me some pointers. But yeah, there will not be any lapel Zionsville games unless we're both in a dire need for something. Okay. Could tell you that.
Well, Coach, really appreciate you coming on. It was good catching up, and really excited to see you in this new role. I knew, like, when we only were there 1 year at the same time, but I had a strong feeling that at some point in the near future you were going to get a head coaching job in the area. So thank you.
Well, yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for giving me the time. And I listened to the first couple of podcasts, so they've been really good. And I like to see, you, Jackson, as coming out and you've always loved basketball and you've always loved being around it. And I like seeing you doing big things. I know you'll do bigger things. So good luck to you, Jared. Good luck to you as well. And
thank you.
If you guys ever need anything else, just let me know.
Thank you, Coach. Have a good one.
Thank you. Yep, you too.